We're here with Dave Senecal, candidate for Austin City Council District 5. Thank you for being here, Dave.
Thank you.
So please tell us how you differentiate yourself from the other candidates in your race, and in particular leadership you might provide for the environment.
Well, I've been involved with a lot of environmental concerns. I've been a member of the Sierra Club for decades, and we enjoy the outdoors and hiking, and we'd like to kind of keep that. I enjoy it. I want to maintain that for myself and the rest of the people in Austin, and really kind of enjoy the fact that we have very environmentally conscious citizenry, and I think that we all kind of fit together and all wanting to protect and preserve.
Okay. And how do you differentiate yourself from your other candidates in this race?
I think we've got a pretty wide variety. We've got several pretty political people coming in District 5, and I'm kind of concerned that might be politics as usual. Mm-hmm. And we've got a couple of more business Republican types, and then there's myself. And I just kind of feel like
who are you? How do you pay? Who is Dave?
Who am I? Well, just long-term. I've been here for over 30 years, and actually, by almost coincidence, I've lived in District 5 practically the whole time, just the way it kind of mapped out. And being in South Austin, and you have a lot of discussions, and there's about how things are being run and how things are being decided, and in the social events, and also in the workplace, you have so many people that have made comments over the decades about how'd they make that decision. And it just seems, and I found this out when I was going around getting my petition. I had so many people that would sign and then take that opportunity to rant a little bit about how South Austin is just not a focus, and that they'd feel like no one's paying attention, and they would actually get agitated.
Right.
And I understood that, and I've heard that for so many years, and I've been in South Austin at the time, and I do understand that, and you can kind of see that as you go around. There's a lot of construction going on, but the infrastructure is not being updated. You've got a situation with flooding in Onion Creek, and I think that a lot of the people in the City Council who are all north of the river didn't realize that Onion Creek was in Austin.
Right.
So they've never, and I actually posed a question on one of the forums about how many people in South Austin have ever seen a City Council member in their neighborhood, and just the reaction was was confirmed what I thought.
Right. So what do we need to do about flooding? If you're going to take a leadership role in this, what would you suggest we do?
Well, part of it is that the reason that we have a lot of this flooding is we've got the infrastructure is just not being updated, not being taken care of. We're so pushed on getting new construction and putting up something new, but we're not updating infrastructure along the lines.
Which infrastructure?
Well, you've got flood control, and look at Onion Creek. We've been, and Williamson Creek for that matter, we've been in a drought for years, and yet we have some rain, and we're flooding places out. Right. I'd really like to propose, and I realize that we need to have some kind of building, and the city has to expand. But so one of the things I've put out to explore is perhaps using more pervious concrete on some of our sidewalks and driveways and parking lots, that where you don't have the storm water running off, it actually absorbs into the concrete. And this is actually being used, not new, it's being used in like Washington State and other places with heavy rain. And then just plan out on the new construction. Again, coming back for District 5, we have Barton Springs Road and South Lamar have so much construction going on, and so they're cementing over everything, but the roads and infrastructure is really not being updated. So when all those people move in there, and they bring in the traffic, but also when rains come in, where's the water going to go?
Let's talk about traffic too. What do you propose as a solution?
Well, I think that what I'd like to see going on there, I really am a big fan of mass transit. I've done quite a bit of traveling. I think that mass transit is an asset to any city in the world. Now, what I'm really looking for in mass transit is I want a way to give people an option so that they have an option of not driving their cars to get into town. Want to have affordable transportation that allows them to commute to work and to their entertainment and an access to the airport. And the problem is that the current initiative on the ballot does not do any of that. So I'm more looking at the Union Pacific Railroad network. I've checked on this, and they don't stop here in Austin. We're a pass-through city. Right. Years ago, they made a negotiation with the trucking industry so that both could be viable. So they don't stop here. And they have not just the active lines, but also a lot of abandoned lines and a right-of-way, which in some cases is just dirt. And this includes routes that go all the way to the airport. And that can be made available. We would have to make a route around Austin to accommodate them, but then we could take over everything that they have within the city limits. And they offer access not just to the city, but to outlying communities and, of course, the airport. Okay. So it would still cost some money, but I think that's a better investment.
Okay, let's shift to transportation is intricately tied to land use. How should we be developing out the city? Do you agree with the Imagine Austin plan, or do you have another vision?
Well, I'm concerned about some of the things that are coming up. I know SH45 is in my, kind of close to my area, and they're talking about. And, you know, there's another indication where I feel that they want to put a road in, but they're not really looking at the support around it. The only reason that Brody Lane, which is, again, borders on District 5, is so crowded is because I-35 is so crowded. But then what they want to do with SH45, which would be a toll road, is feed it into the bottom of Mopac, which is also very crowded. And of course, it'll be a toll road. So not everyone's going to want to use it. So all they're doing is, instead of having 2 problem areas, now we're going to have a 3rd problem area, which is already getting crowded on Mopac.
So what do we do instead?
Well, again, we kind of come back on, I think we need an option for people to commute where they don't have to drive their cars and park their cars. Our parking spots are getting decreased as well. So I really do want to look very closely at start making that move towards mass transit, coordinating a rail system with a bus system. We can have rapid buses could feed the rail, and then the rail get you across town, and then you could take a bus further on. And one of the things is that, just a minor item, is that we have that rail system right now. There's goes a commuter rail from Leander downtown, and it has a totally different ticketing system than a bus system. And I think we need to coordinate all that together so that we can have a network, a transportation network that allows people to leave their cars at home. Okay,
quickly let's cover water and energy. Water infrastructure and or the business model of the water utility and energy. Where should we be getting our energy, and what do you think about the management?
Well, I think that our management of our electric and water has actually been pretty good. I know they're kind of a punching bag, and I think we're very fortunate that we own these utilities. These utilities are investments for us, and they give us a return. I think that the science is already out there on the climate change and the global warming. None of our future power needs to be coal or gas. It's not just the global warming, it's also just the pollution. And the science is already kind of like trumps any of the cost-benefit analysis. And we can see that, but as far as like closing some of these, I know that's a popular concept, but we get more than half our power from the gas and coal. So we're not quite ready to turn them off. I think all of our new power can go renewables. We've gotten, technology has really made a tremendous strides in there. We just bought some wind power recently at a fraction of the cost that we were paying before. So I think that going forward, we need to kind of take coal and gas off the table for new generation, and then just kind of not just be driven by emotion, but actually use data and analysis to see how long we need to keep those running.
Okay, and real quick on the water.
Okay. Well, water, I think that we're actually in very good shape on water. I know that there's a big concern about our lake being down. However, let's not wait until we're in a desperate situation. I'd really like to work with the water utility. They've got the knowledge and skills and education to start to formulate some future plans. I'd like to start incorporating water recapture. They've done that in Wichita. There's actually 3 cities in Texas, that do that. Wichita Falls, but does it mostly, but they waited until they're on the brink.
Right.
And the technology that's available today would allow us to grab 60 to 80% of wastewater back to reusable water. And we've got wastewater plants that have been operating for a long time. We'll look at the schedule for them to be remodeled, and let's look at when we remodel, let's retrofit them and start incorporating that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was very nice to talk with you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Okay.